video, so. Alright. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. One of the big inspirations for those type of things that I create, and something that has a lot of those things, is the universe of Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. A lot of you people out there might be as well. Now, I haven't done a lot of fan art on this channel in a while, but today I'm going to, because I got offered a unique opportunity to do a sketch cover for my local comic book store, and I'm always happy to help them out. So they wanted to know, they were having a big signing, bringing in Ray Park, who, if you're not familiar with the Star Wars universe, he portrayed Darth Maul in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In my opinion, probably the best part of that, probably the best part of the prequel, actually. And then they kind of wrote him off, but since then, he's kind of returned, and I think he's played that character again. But anyway, he was coming in to do a signing, and even though I'm sort of stuck down here in the underground lair, I wanted to try to figure out a way that I go out there, meet with him, do the sketch. So I started thinking, with everything going on in the world, I'm kind of safely bunkered here in the underground lair, but sometimes you just got to venture out. The good thing is, and this is something we haven't done in a while, but we've got this device right here, the paralleloscope, which allows us to go through space, time, alternate dimensions, alternate realities, so we can get out of the underground lair and get out in the world and do things. But just as a precaution, because you never know what you're going to get when you use this device, I still want to play it safe, take some precautions. So I'm going to don the mask, we're going to go through the paralleloscope, check out my local comic book store, and see what's going on. Alright, as you can see, there's quite a bit of a line here in front of my local comic book store. I don't know how well people are social distancing, but they are limiting the amount of people that can go in. But I do want to go in the store, and I'm going to present my comic book cover that I did, and I'll show you the process of that, and meet with Ray Park. And as you can see here, Ray Park just doing some signing and everything on my cover, and another artist, Eric Henson, who you may have seen on the Artcasters. We've had him on before. So it's pretty cool to meet Ray Park, do this design, and like I said, I want to kind of show you the process of me creating this sketch cover. Alright, so as you can see, this is kind of sped up quite a bit. It was a long process. I think I worked on this sketch for about 3 hours. It probably took a little more time than I probably should have. Usually I do try to do these sketches rather quickly, but this one, once I got into it, I wanted to spend a little more time with it. For one reason, because I was gonna kind of show it to you know, the actor who plays the character that I'm drawing. So that was part of it, and also, you know, comic book stores in general here, now that we're kind of dealing with this pandemic, I know a lot of comic book stores are, you know, they're struggling. So, you know, early on, when all this stuff started happening, I told my local comic book store owner, because he's been, it's a husband and wife, the owners, and they've been real good to me. They've had me in and do signings and everything, and so, you know, I really wanted to support them, and I didn't know kind of what it was going to be like, because a lot of comic book stores in general, I mean, every year there's fewer and fewer comic book stores, and it's kind of sad. So for them to be able to survive this, and a lot of people have been saying this may be the sort of death knell for comic book stores, but sort of to my surprise, at least for my comic book shop, they were saying that they were actually doing really well. And I guess they kind of chalked it up to, you know, it's just, they said a lot of times, you know, some of the stores, maybe they just don't have as good of a business sense behind them. They get into it because they love comics, and they may not have that business savvy. But anyway, whatever the case is, they said they were doing really well, and they said because there's just really not a lot of entertainment around, that people are starved for that, so that they, you know, and even though they did, you know, they would do comic book store, or conventions rather, and I assume that was where they made a lot of their money, but I guess they said they've sort of made up for it, and judging myself, having done conventions, there's a lot of setup. I mean, you can make decent money, you know, you can also go broke doing it, but you can make decent money, but there's so much setup that's why I kind of, even right before, you know, the pandemic hit, I had the year previous, I decided I really wasn't going to do any more conventions, because I just noticed that I could probably, if I just concentrate on like digital sales and doing my own things, it probably would make a little more sense for me, because I just remember when setting up for conventions, I would spend like a couple weeks just prepping for a convention just for those 2 days. And if I would, even though I made money based on the time I spent at the convention, those 3 days of setup, you know, you gotta count for that amount of time too, and the work you're producing and everything. So that was kind of cool to hear from them that they were doing good, and I'm hoping that's the case for other comic book stores, because there really are a lot of good comic book stores, at least locally, in you know, in Arizona or the Phoenix area that I've been to. So hopefully they're all doing all right. But regardless of that, you know, I did want to do a decent job on this. So when I do a sketch cover, when I approach a sketch cover like this, you can kind of see where this is. Hopefully you can kind of see where it's going right now. It's all kind of loose pencil, but you'll see it come together. But I always like to take advantage of the double page spread, the front cover and the back, and I like to have sort of a reveal. So if you're familiar with Darth Maul beyond just what you saw in like the movies, I know he was, you know, Darth Maul appeared in episode 1, and I think the only other movie he appeared, it was a Solo, a Star Wars story, which I guess it's sort of a minor spoiler if you haven't already seen it. And I don't, that Solo movie, I kind of like it. I mean, I think it's one of those out of the new ones that it's just fun. I mean, and I could just watch, that's one that I can continue to watch. I mean, the last, was it the Last Skywalker? Was that what it was? I can't even remember what it was called. I watched it in the theater, and then I think usually when I go see a Star Wars movie, I'll see it in the theater at least 2 or 3 times. That one I only saw once, and then I started watching it when it came out on Disney Plus, and I don't know, I kept falling asleep. Not because it was boring or anything, even though it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't boring, but it just wasn't, I guess it wasn't what I was looking for. But I tend to put on movies late at night after I'm done working, and then I fall asleep. So usually I'll fall asleep, and then I'll watch the rest the next day, and it usually takes me about 2 or 3 nights to watch a movie. But so I was watching it, and then something happened where it didn't keep my space where I was, and I was towards the end, and I was like, you know, I'm not gonna even find where I was. I just gave up. So I really have only seen it about 1 2/3 time. But whatever the case is, I'm kind of going off on there. Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss for me with the newer stuff. Love Mandalorian, love, and I love Force Awakens. I love where it was going. To me, that was probably, Force Awakens is probably like maybe my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie. And because to me, it did kind of capture what I felt from the first one, but it just seems after that, they just really didn't have a plan, and I had high hopes for it. So now it's at the point where Force Awakens may have sort of slipped down in that ranking for me, just because knowing what happened afterwards. And I mean, I don't want to be a hater or anything. I mean, if you love all the new Star Wars movies, that's great, and I don't hate them. There's stuff in each of them I like, but I don't know. I thought it had a lot of potential, but it just seems like there was a lack of a plan. But if you want to hear people bashing Star Wars, then there's plenty of channels for that. So I don't really want to get into that. But anyway, so Darth Maul, he was in, you know, a couple Star Wars movies, but if you watch the Clone Wars, and obviously you know in the end, and again, this is a spoiler for, you know, Phantom Menace, but most people have seen that movie. If you're watching this, you must have seen it. But he gets cut in half, and then, oh man, and that leads me to an interesting story. When I first went and saw Phantom Menace, I went with my friend, and my friend brought his son I mean, he's grown now, but he was, you know, a little kid at the time, and we're walking out, and just at the top of his lungs, he burst out like, "I can't believe they cut Darth Maul in half," as other people are like walking in, and I remember my friend was going, "Shh, don't do that, you're gonna spoil the movie." But anyway, so Darth Maul was cut in half, and then in the Clone Wars, the way they brought him back, now if you see him, he's kind of got the mechanical legs, but previous to that, he was in kind of, when we first saw him again in the Clone Wars, he had somehow attached himself to just all this giant mechanical spider type thing. So that's kind of what you'll see, and when you start to see me inking a little more, and I'm getting close to that right now where I'll actually start doing that. I just thought that would be kind of cool to have, you know, you just see most of just the way he normally is, except, you know, here you got him without his shirt and his tattoos and stuff, which you didn't really see in the movies. But draw to design, so when you do that, when you flip it around, you can see that mechanical spider-like thing, and that's perfect for me because I love designing mechanical things. I mean, every video that I usually do, I talk about how I like to do robots and aliens and zombies, and robots are a big part of that, and I like just drawing mechs, and I like drawing all this little machinery and stuff like that. So that giant spider mech, whatever you want to call it, it's just something that I had a lot of fun with. So that's one of the reasons I took a little more time with this. Now, the thing about tools, this zebra brush pen that you see me doing, it's a really nice pen, but one of the things that I found out that I must have, it's been a while since, honestly, it's been a while since I've done any traditional drawing. Most of the stuff I've been doing lately is digital, so that was another reason why I took a little more time, because I just missed drawing stuff traditionally. Because usually the only time I do that is when I am doing a signing or something. So because of that, and because I haven't been able to really do any signings, I haven't really done much traditional stuff. It's been mostly digital on the iPad, or, you know, on my, you know, in Clip Studio or something like that on my computer. But so I spent a little more time, but one thing, and I really like this brush, I like how it goes on real smooth, but as you'll see when I get into, because I'm going to drop some color on this just using some Copic markers, and it was bleeding a little bit, and I didn't remember that. I know there's other markers that I use that didn't bleed, and maybe that's why I stopped, because I bought a new one of these pens because I remember liking it. But if you start throwing on color with this, it's like I don't know if this is a Kiritaki zebra, or I don't know what it is. But I think I may have it listed in my tools on my website, I'm not sure. But as great of a pen it is, and it's refillable and everything, which is kind of cool, it does sort of bleed a little bit. So I guess I have to be careful with that moving forward. But because I was using mostly grays, I was able to, you know, it wasn't too bad. And typically when I do these sketch covers, something like this, I'll do a lot of them in gray. I used to do more like portraits, like just the sketch cards rather than the covers. And I also miss working in Copics, or however you pronounce it, I don't know. People always call me out on that, and I forget what I guess Copic is what most people say, I think. So anyway, so yeah, you gotta kind of watch that stuff, and it could be just a dry time. I imagine maybe if I left it for, you know, a good 5 hours or something, maybe it wouldn't bleed as much, but I didn't really have that much time to waste. But here you can kind of see what I'm talking about, how I really like to get into all these details and everything. And the fun part is you don't really have to worry too much about, you know, with this, like, proper anatomy or anything like that, or really having it make any sense. You know, you want it to look, you want to sort it to make it look functional, but at the end of the day, you don't have to worry so much about that. And I really like that, showing the exposed wires and everything like that. So yeah, this is really fun for me to create. And of course, you know, I like just drawing all this smoke and stuff, and I kind of was looking at some of the scenes when I was drawing this from the Clone Wars, and he's sort of in this, I don't know, it's some sort of weird facility where he found where he, you know, gathered all this machinery and everything, and it's really, you know, and so I was just gonna throw in, you can see him kind of throwing in some of that in the background, but it's nothing real fancy. I didn't really work out the perspective much. Sometimes, you know, sometimes if you're filling your page with, if the bulk of what you're filling your page in is the characters and stuff, and you're not seeing as much of the background, you can kind of cheat a little bit. And that's sort of what I did with the smoke. So you don't actually see where the building comes to the floor. So you can't, it's a little hard to tell if there's perspectives off or whatever. So it doesn't, you don't really have to worry so much about that. And again, just throwing in little, you know, bits and pieces of this mechanical debris or, you know, whatever, just to pop that out. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it's going. Now here, as you can see, as I start dropping in some of this color, it does bleed a little bit. So when I first dropped that down, I was like, oh, this is gonna bleed. What do I do now? Do I keep going? And I'm like, I'm just gonna be careful. The gray's not so bad, but once I get into the red, I have to really be careful that it doesn't smudge too much. And some of that smudging, I guess it looks okay. Like you can kind of see with the little dots in the smoke, how it kind of smudged a little bit. But it almost gives it a wash effect, which, you know, that can be kind of a cool effect. So anyway, and when the final thing was done, I think it turned out okay. And obviously you guys will see that as I start to wrap this thing up. But yeah, I need to get some more markers. Like I said, I wasn't the only one that did a sketch cover. Eric Henson, who, if you're familiar with, he had a book through Alterna called Eden. And lately he's been doing some like stuff for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, some variant covers and everything. But man, he's pretty awesome. And so he was there, he brought in his book, and of course he kind of showed me up with his, because he had already done a print, so I didn't know he was going to do a sketch cover as well. But yeah, his cover was pretty cool. I don't know if you could see it in the intro there. But he just sort of did a, you know, torso up version of Darth Maul, which was pretty cool. But he was using both like warm color grays and cool color grays, and like one for the background, one for sort of the foreground, and it really had a good effect. And I realized that I need to get some more gray markers. So that's going to be like my next purchase, to get some more like gray Copic markers. But because I do like just work, I mean, really, I'm a big fan of just black and white line art or grayscale, or something like this where it's just one color, like a monotone. So basically the only other color really I'm going to use here is the red, other than the grays. I may put some like yellow in the eyes or something, but for the most part, I like sort of that really monochromatic. And part of that is because once I get crazy into color, it's really not my strong point, although it's probably something I should work on a little more. So I'm just gonna sort of work on just the red and grayscale here. So, but yeah, I mean, this is really sort of been a fun project. I'd like to do more of these. If you guys want to see me do more like actual sketches like this, physical sketches, let me know, because I really do want to get back to doing some of that. I used to do sketch cards and everything, and then of course just pop some things out. I love just going through with my little white gel pen and kind of adding a little bit of a sheen on stuff like that. But yeah, this whole, you know, drawing, this cover, great to get back to doing this kind of stuff. I do want to do more of that, but just let me know if that's something you guys like. Otherwise, or whatever you guys like, let me know in the comment section, and if there's a big enough demand for whatever, then I'll try to get to doing that. So yeah. All right, so there we go. That was a fun adventure through the paralleloscope. Got to check out my local comic book store. Haven't been there in a while. Good to hear that they're doing well, and they had this event, and I think they did pretty well with all the safety precautions and everything, even though there were, as you could see, a lot of people in line. So hopefully everything's going on, but for now, I think I'm gonna go back here and just kind of hunker down in the lab, but I will see you guys later. That is all.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.